Nobody, not once, ever preceding this point in your life have ever communicated how to nourish yourself, how to optimize your experience as a human being based on your nutrition. Nobody, not your brother, mother, father, sister, cousin, no former mentors of yours, coaches, professors, not your favorite health or fitness influencer have ever told you how to fuel your body. They've never aptly characterized that which constitutes an appropriate, better yet, optimal diet to optimize not just your cognitive, but your physical performance. It's something that hits really close and is near and dear to me, your own personal health. And yet that is what I will be delineating in this video today, in concert with an article that you should check out now. I'm going to pull up the web browser here to show you how to navigate to this, Actualization.com. We're going to pull up the landing page here, and you can see a couple of articles that were most recently published, the top 10 testosterone boosting tips being one of them, and then why you should be drinking distilled water. And then, of course, the latest article that is a must-read banger article. I would share this honestly with anybody who you care about, is titled Nutrition Guidelines for Optimal Health and Performance. Now, the author of this article is my good friend and mentor, Luke, who devised the nutritional philosophy that he effectively, in 10 points, disseminates in that article. It is a must-read. Please equip yourself with that knowledge because it lays the foundation and the framework for my entire personal transformation. I attribute in large part to improving my nutrition. And I've got a lot of content for us to go through. You can see it on screen now. A lot of, frankly, ancient history that with the Windows operating system, I'm fortunate enough, actually time-stamped. So you'll be able to see the exact day and time that a lot of these photos and videos were actually taken. And we're going to be going through these with a fine-tooth comb. The purpose of this video is, I hope, to inspire you and just show you what's possible when you do optimize your nutrition. And then the corresponding article is going to lay the framework and help you devise a diet that is optimal for you, that adheres to those principles. I'm going to be sharing a lot of content in this video, but the article is going to give you the structure from which you can deduce content, i.e. specific foods and nutritional protocols that are going to optimize you. So without further ado, I just want to dive into some of the food that I used to eat. I mean, frankly, my household had no shortage of Twinkies and Yankee Doodles. That was my go-to after dinner. Here's what I had for breakfast though. 3 waffles doused in log cabin syrup. And if it wasn't a Monday through Friday weekday, if it was a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I would be consuming cinnamon toast crunch in concert with a tall glass of chocolate milk. Look, I grew up in a standard American diet household where Frankenfoods that come in bags, boxes, cans, and containers and are procured within the depths and breadths of the various aisles in every grocery store, which, by the way, has a corresponding pharmacy, which you can visit to help counteract the damage done by the foods that you procure, ingest, and digest. The truth is that you do become what you eat. And as somebody who spent 5 years as a consultant and retail pharmacist, and frankly, just seen the abysmal health of the average individual and the detrimental trajectory of such, I'm here to help you get to the other side, to bridge the gap between a lot of the misinformation that has been disseminated to the average individual so that you don't have to contend with the consequences that I did. And I'd like to pull up pictures of some of those consequences, and not the least of which is when I was holding a nebulizer. Look, this was my life. I had exercise-induced asthma. I had allergic rhinitis just around the clock. I couldn't be around as much as I loved them. My pet cats, Seeger and Sassy, I love those cats. And the truth is that my dad, who's a carpenter, had actually built a screen door to effectively blockade myself from their dander because I had a very overactive immune system. And I had never connected the dots between my diet and a lot of these symptoms that manifested. The truth is when I was 15 years old, I actually had this procedure performed where I had this very extensive allergy testing performed and I couldn't shower for 3 days. I had to have all of these food patch samples placed on my back, and we were doing skin patch testing to figure out why the heck my esophagus was so inflamed. I had an esophagus that made it difficult just to swallow food. And I'm so happy now to be on the other side of that. But what I'd like to show you is just a before and after from 2009 when I was 15 years old to last year when I turned 30 in 2023. And you can see the considerable mitigation of inflammation. And it's not just that. It's not just the esophagus, it's my mind, how clearly I'm able to think, how I'm able to wake up at 5:30 a.m. without an alarm and not need any caffeine throughout the day. I feel for the first time in my life sober. I feel good. I don't feel like I need any chemical crutches. And frankly, what I'd like to do is pull up a picture now of last year, 2023, when I did have the esophagogastroduodenoscopy. This is an upper endoscopy, an EGD. And this was, 15 years later. Wow, it's really crazy for me to think about the journey that I've been on. Again, something I'm so grateful for, and something that I feel that I have a holy grail and a due diligence to pay forward to you. You deserve to have this information. You deserve to see how I went from this to, and this is the day that I had the procedure done. Credit to my mom for taking this picture and driving me there. Portland Gastroenterology. I'm going to zoom into this picture here, and you can see that I had completely reinvented myself. I was tired. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of being uptight, anxious, a shell of the person that I am today, unable to eat in mixed company, without the prospect and non-zero chance of the next bite of food, the next subsequent swallow leading to the impaction of my esophagus, leaving me unable to speak and barely able to breathe for up to an hour at a time. And the question is what is your version of that? Because maybe you don't have eosinophilic esophagitis, but let's be honest, you probably aren't optimized in the way that you know is possible. Look, if it was possible for me to reverse this disease, to no longer be contending with the consequences of exercise-induced asthma, of having lungs that would not stop wheezing like a geriatric member of a nursing home, which, by the way, I ended up consulting at for a number of years as a pharmacist, and just seeing, really palpably appreciating the fact that I didn't want to end up in one of those homes. And I knew that if I did what everyone else was doing, I was going to get ostensibly what everybody else had gotten. And what I'd like to do now is just share with you the time that everything changed for me. And I'm so passionate about this because I firmly believe that the percentage of your life that you assume accountability of, well, that's the same percentage that you can conceivably improve. And so what I decided to do on this day, this is a letter, by the way, on behalf of my allergist at the time, Dr. Scott Dyer, I decided to take 100% ownership, to assume responsibility and accountability for everything that touched my tongue, teeth, and lips. I'd like to read this aloud to you if I may. This is on January 13th, 2014, and I quote, "To whom it may concern, Jason Laporte, date of birth 11/18/1993, has been diagnosed with a condition called eosinophilic esophagitis. This requires him to have strict dietary restrictions. His medical treatment plan requires him to eliminate specific foods from his diet by monitoring very strictly the additives and ingredients in all that he consumes. He can do this best by purchasing his own food items." Dr. Scott Dyer. I'm really appreciative for Scott for having written this letter for me to excuse me from the dining meal plan that I had been subscribed to for a number of semesters in school, not realizing the consequences that that food was effectively leading to. I'm actually logged into my MyFitnessPal account. This is really ancient history. Saturday, October 4th, 2014, my friend. You cannot unsee this. What you are seeing right now exemplifies everything that is wrong with the conventional standard nutritional advice. This was me doing my best. I'm not eating waffles anymore. I'm not eating cinnamon toast crunch. I'm not eating log cabin, maple syrup, brownies, any of the aforementioned, my friend. This is me trying. This is me at level 100 of effort, but a level 10 map. And the truth is that the glass ceiling that you can't even see right now is the quality of the map that you're following. And the truth is that for the majority of you, that map is at best incomplete and at worst completely erroneous. At best, that map, at best, has led you astray, and at worst, as in my case, it's leading you to a cliff's edge. And my job here, I recognize, is to give you buy-in. I need to do a good job communicating the importance of this message so that you realize that this is the most pivotal, influential, proverbial fork of your entire existence. Let me say that again. You're at a point right now in watching this video where you can veer left or you can veer right. And the truth is that the quality of the food that you consume influences directly or indirectly every single facet of your life. In other words, there's not a single aspect of the quality of your consciousness, of your human experience, that is not directly or indirectly impacted by the food that you consume. This was my diet: vanilla almond milk, because why drink whole milk when I can drink seed oil riddled plant-derived milks? This is total trash and has no place in your body. Next, russet potatoes. This is actually fine. It's just the fact that my macronutrients were greatly emphasizing carbohydrates over fat. There's a really delicate dance that needs to be played there. And you can see, as evidenced by my 10 grams of fat per day, I was literally engaging in a natural form of castration. I'm not even kidding you. I had zero libido, zero sex drive at this point in my life. Banana, nothing inherently wrong with that. It's a little bit high in fructose, and by extension is not emphasizing starch over sugar, which is one of the 10 principles in the article that you absolutely need to read and share with anybody who you care about. Grapes, the same problem. We're not getting a lot of starch. The russet potatoes are giving us that, but we'll see in a few minutes there is a better way to check that box. Now, this is kind of an enlightened move, albeit Ocean Spray comes in a plastic container. If you are going to be consuming any fruit juices like pomegranate juice, which I highly recommend, make sure that it is in glass, because this is a very acidic liquid and is going to be leaching by orders of magnitude more than a non-acidic solution, endocrine disrupting micro and nanoplastic chemicals into the liquid that you end up drinking. Tap water. Oh my God, I haven't logged my tap water. I was very diligent here. Okay. What is disconcerting though is that in this database, who's the manufacturer of tap water? It's not planet Earth. Okay. As this database would suggest, you want to know what does come from planet Earth? Distilled water. And that's part and parcel due to the hydrologic cycle. And that's why you should also check out why you should be drinking distilled water. That is another must read on this website. Okay, we've got boneless, skinless chicken breast. Okay, this is optimized within the white meat paradigm because it's lowest in linoleic acid. Chickens are monogastric animals and they bioaccumulate the parent chain omega-6 polyunsaturated fat, linoleic acid, this 18 carbon polyunsaturated fat that not only bioaccumulates in monogastric animals like chickens, but also human beings, and it overclocks your immune system and it makes you more easily triggered by conceivable environmental allergens. You can see I wasn't consuming red meat because the American Heart Association suggested that that was not heart healthy and that the saturated fat therein was going to clog my arteries and lead to my eventual inevitable demise. You can see here Hunt's barbecue sauce and original country kitchen syrup, which I can remember dousing my potatoes in. This is me doing my best on October 4th, 2014. And I'd like to pull up a picture of what I actually looked like in and around that time. So that was October 14th. Let me pull up the properties on this picture here. And what we can see here, according to Windows at least, if we go into the details is, and I had reinstalled the operating system. So yeah, it says date created April 10th, 2024, but the date modified is going to be the accurate date. So January 22nd, 2015. So just a few months after that dietary log, this is what I had looked like. This was a point in my life where I was hungry for change. I was brought to my knees not only by eosinophilic esophagitis, but this is after the heartbreak of a girl who I was rejected by, who I was head over heels in love with. I was seeking mentorship. I was seeking betterment. I was willing to give up who I was for who I could become. And the next picture that I'd like to show you, if I pull up the properties here and go to the details, was taken on January 30th, 2016. So this was the starting point. We'll go back to this picture. That was day one. And then effectively day 365, about 1 year later, this was the result. Now, this protocol isn't just about looking better. That's very surface level. I always wanted to look better. I wanted to have more muscle. I wanted to be a juggernaut. That was actually my username on MyFitnessPal. It was Juggernaut Jason. I wanted to be a bigger man. I wanted to have a more impressive physique. But more importantly, this journey, this nutrition is about actually feeling better, having optimized endocrinology, not just looking like the man and being all show, but you also want to be all go. You want to be stronger. And that's why in just a minute, I will show you a bench press before and after, just to show you also what is possible when you really get your nutrition dialed. I want to be very clear. I had been weightlifting in 2012, 13, and 14 as adamantly and meticulously as the dietary log that you just followed. I was serious. I was doing my best with 100% effort, but with a 10% map. And what I'm giving you now is the 100% map. I will have Luke, who devised this entire nutritional philosophy and authored the article that you absolutely must read A to Z. He will also be creating an article about how to train for aesthetics, principles for achieving an aesthetic physique, which you've probably never encountered before. Here's another before and after as well, day 1 versus day 365. Now, just as importantly as the before and after physique photos, and that's just 1 year in, by the way, I want to pull up the MyFitnessPal before and after. So you saw the log from October 4th, 2014. This is now July 27th, 2015. This is the map that I followed to find my freedom, to fix my physiology, to reverse eosinophilic esophagitis, which doctors thought I would have to be medicated for the rest of my life. Let's go through this. Desiccated liver tablets. So Luke back then told me about the importance of copper. This is very crucial to be in an appropriate balance with the amount of zinc that you're consuming. DHA, this is very important for cognitive function. Docosahexaenoic acid. Whole milk. This was, I believe, it might be 2 liters per day, it looks like. I did everything in grams, 2,230 grams. That's about 2 liters of whole milk per day. In addition to, it looks like 3 eggs at 155.9 grams. I was so precise with this. I had a gram scale. Again, 100% effort, but now with a 100% map. There are a few things that I would have done differently. You see the 73% ground beef here. That's all that I could afford at the time. I would literally buy this 10 pounds at a time and cook it all in a slow cooker. You can see the Carolina basmati rice. This is the map that I followed, and I've actually got a Word document called Food Prep. I'm going to pull up the properties on that as well. This dates back to October 13th, 2015, and I would just like to pull that up as well, just really reiterating, emphasizing how methodical I was. I had down to the minute the cook time for my hard-boiled eggs. I had down to the minute, the exact protocol. I don't even know what the WM setting is here. I had different cookware. I'll be showing you a video of my food preparation process now that really hinges upon the medical grade stainless steel containing lid within the Instant Pot using a low pressure, low temperature cooking methodology, which I believe is vastly superior to what I was doing at this point in time. But I just want to highlight here the hard boiled eggs, the whole milk, the beef, the rice. For the first time in my life, I was getting optimal nutrition, and this completely changed the trajectory of my life. And what I'd like to do now is just show you a bench press from, let's figure out the day here, from April 21st, 2015. So let's pull up this video here. This was in the gym at my college campus. So you can see here I'm adopting a really wide grip, really exaggerated. You'll see in just a second, I'm going to be lowering that to the upper chest. I've got my feet up on the bench to take out any possibility of leg drive. I've got a really nice tempo here as well. And this is me lifting 135 pounds. Now I actually shot a video this morning. So this was actually in Australia, and this is 100 kilograms. So that's about 220 pounds. You're going to be seeing a very similar form that I've adopted. Really exaggerated wide grip. I'm going to be lowering it to the upper chest. I've got my feet up on the bench. You will see in just a second. I've got the flat back and a really good tempo as well. 220 pounds. Now I had repped that out, by the way, on my top set for 11 reps. And the truth is that the first 3 years of me lifting, 2012, 13, 14, really paled in comparison to the strength and physique gains that I made from the before and after that you just saw. From this time here in 2015 to the following year, 2016, my nutrition was what really set me apart. And again, that was just a 1-year physique transformation. Here is 2015 versus 2023, just to give you a sense of what is possible with the proper trajectory, the physiological trajectory that not only improves your physique, not only heals your esophagus, not only, I'm going on a rant here, I'm really passionate about this, not only does it get you off of these unnecessary nebulizers, not only does it make it so you no longer need this peak flow. Let me just zoom into this picture here so that you can see on December 24th, 2001, I was prescribed a peak flow. Why? It says here, use as directed to monitor asthma. I was asthmatic. I had allergies and asthma, and believe it or not, I was lightly autistic. Let me just see if I can find, I believe I have it here, a number of different books that my mom, with her best attempt yet, to render me a well-adjusted child. You can just see a lot of these pictures here. Preparing for life, quirky, yes. Hopeless, no. Late lost and unprepared. The Aspie Teens Survival Guide. Take control of Asperger's syndrome. You know, the truth is that I'm so grateful for this journey. I'm so grateful for actually feeling at ease with myself, being able to understand people in a way that I never thought possible. Liberating mental capital, mental bandwidth, just feeling good, feeling like a human being, and really feeling like I can palpably appreciate the humanity in other people. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share this message with you. And what I'd like to do now actually is share with you a graphic of the vertical diet. And I'd like to do that because this is the most, at least somewhat mainstream dissemination of dietary principles that I can actually hang my hat on, that I can actually feel good in advocating. This is the most close resemblance to the philosophy that Luke came up with well over a decade ago, that he expounds upon in the aforementioned article. This is Stan Efferding's vertical diet, and there are a lot of redeeming qualities to these principles that he lays out, not least the idea of emphasizing ruminant meat and white rice, which is in stark contrast to the 6 to 11 whole grains that you've been recommended as of the 1992 U.S. Department of Agriculture recommendation guidelines to be consuming. Those 6 to 11 servings are nonsense. What basmati rice is going to afford you is not necessarily a preponderance of micronutrients, but rather a paucity of anti-nutrients. And that is a net positive, my friend, because it's not just about what you're consuming, it's about what you're not consuming. Yes, we want to get all of these micronutrients. We want to get animal-derived, high-quality sources of protein and fats, not least by ground beef and the other ruminant-derived cuts of meat that you see here: top sirloin, bison, filet mignon, venison, and lamb, all creme de la creme. But also, we want to be getting white rice as a source of starch to replenish our muscle glycogen in a way that neither fructose nor galactose actually can. And this is one of the 10 principles that Luke really greatly disseminates in the article. A couple of amendments that I really would like to emphasize with respect to this graphic here is the fact that Stan recommends a greater meal frequency. If memory serves, I believe 4 to 5 meals per day. I would recommend, for optimal health, decreasing your meal frequency to what I do is 2 meals per day. This is going to improve your metabolic health. And in fact, I'm actually going to show you some recent blood work that I had done. I actually have a video of the actual blood draw itself, and I want to show you my A1C, my fasting glucose, even my lipid panel, and something called phospholipase A2. We're going to be getting deep into the weeds. As I said, though, some of the amendments that I would offer to this protocol is not only cutting back on meal frequency from 5 to ideally 2, but really anywhere between 1 and 3. If you're really struggling to gain weight, 3. If you are more isocaloric, 2. And if you're somebody who is really struggling to lose weight, OMAD can be really beneficial. But a couple of the amendments to the micronutrients that I would like to add is the fact that almonds, spinach, bell peppers, honestly, I would probably pass on these, not least because of the considerable oxalate and by extension anti-nutrient content of the spinach and the bell peppers. But a much better nut than an almond that you could be consuming because of the fatty acid profile would be a macadamia nut, just because it's the lowest in polyunsaturated fats relative to almonds. Now, salmon is really a great source of DHA, and in general, these micronutrient sources are fantastic. If you're struggling with your ferritin, that's a protein that serves as a surrogate for how much stored iron you have, which a lot of people consuming a lot of red meat, myself included, can have too much iron and too much oxidative stress. As a logical extension to that, what you want to do is periodically switch between red meat and white meat. If you are getting too much ferritin, that's going to be a way to more quickly drive down the amount of stored iron that you have, in addition to donating blood. But we'll do a separate article and video about that. One of the other major changes that I would make here is, instead of cranberries, pomegranate juice. This is the best way to augment your antioxidant status and to confer protection from not only cerebrovascular disease, but also cardiovascular disease. And I've actually got a PubMed identification number that I'm going to share with you, just in case you want to check this out for yourself, or frankly, share this with somebody else. You can go to Google, and if you were to do that and paste PMID 151-58307, hit enter. The first result here is pomegranate juice consumption for 3 years by patients with carotid artery stenosis reduces common carotid intima media thickness, blood pressure, and LDL oxidation. This is a banger research paper that has myriad implications that we will be expounding upon in a future article. If you want to see that, drop a comment down below. We're going to just outline the entire etiology of cardiovascular disease, which, yes, conventional doctors, heart surgeons, cardiologists are unfortunately not apprised of. Now, what I would like to do now is actually delve into the details of how I'm currently preparing my food, and frankly, what I am currently consuming. You've seen the evolution thus far. You've seen the receipts. This was Saturday, October 4th, 2014. You can see my evolution to July 27th, 2015. And since that point in time, now as of today, April 11th, 2024, I think you'll appreciate that not a lot has changed. I was consuming 3 eggs per day, a couple liters of whole milk, basmati rice, 73% beef. All these years later, it's actually very similar, just a little bit fine-tuned based on blood work and personal performance. So you can see here within chronometer, I'm going to hit the back button so you can see April 10th. I didn't log anything. 1 day forward is today, April 11th. You can see the basmati rice. Now this would be if I was eating an isocaloric amount. I would have 300 grams of basmati rice per day. What I'm currently consuming is actually 80 grams with each meal. So I am in a hypocaloric state right now. So I'm actually consuming 160 grams per day. I like to rank order these by how many calories each are contributing. I'm drinking a liter of whole milk, 160 grams of basmati rice per day. I've got 250 grams of 90% lean beef. I've got 4 large eggs, a quarter liter, 250 milliliters of pomegranate juice, and a little bit of beef gelatin, a level tablespoon that I toss and wash with each meal. What I'd like to scroll down to is really emphasize the importance of your total fat to polyunsaturated fat. You can see that if I were to move this decimal here between the 2 and the 3 of 82.3 to the left, I would get 8.23. That number you want to be more than the number of grams of polyunsaturated fat per day. Again, this is one of the 10 principles that Luke outlines, but ideally you would minimize your polyunsaturated fat to no more than 10% of your total dietary fat. In other words, your saturated and mono fat would be 9 times greater than the amount of PUFAs that you are consuming. And so what I'm going to do now is show you where the rubber meets the road and just show you the actual process with the Instant Pot. So this is a video here showing the preparation of the Instant Pot. And I really just want to outline the meat that I've got here. This is grass-fed, grass-finished USDA organic beef that I'm putting on top of the basmati rice with distilled water. Very important. Read that article about why you should be not only drinking distilled water, but also cooking in it. You see here that I put the hard-boiled egg on top. I'm just putting the lid of the Instant Pot on there. And now what I'm going to show you is what actually happens after it's done cooking. What does it actually look like when you release the steam and you open up the lid? So we just went from the raw preparation to now the cooked concoction. And this is exactly what your food is going to look like when you remove the lid. Right here, you can see the steam released and you can see the food that gets rendered. This is a really great trick here to make the eggs super easy to peel. Put them in really cold water afterwards, and that's just going to result in more separation and peeling that you could frankly conduct with just one hand. And actually, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm actually going to be pulling up my Amazon account right now, and I just want to show you the date that I actually purchased this Instant Pot, because this has been a total game changer in my life in concert with a water distiller. One of the top 5 easily purchases that I've ever made for my personal health augmentation. You can see here, last purchased July 6th, 2019. This was a total game changer for me. The low steam and temperature that this is able to cook at in a really expedited, efficient fashion, as you saw in those videos, is frankly one of the most streamlined yet healthy ways to prepare food, resulting in less oxidation of the cholesterols, the cholesterol in the meats that you are consuming. This is going to result in less oxysterol formation, which, by the way, is directly atherogenic. This is the healthiest way that I can think of to prepare food, and I highly, highly recommend it. I've got a couple of videos here of my actual diet, and I'm just going to play those real quick on screen here so that you can see the whole milk, the pomegranate juice in glass, highly recommended, the Redmond real salt, the basmati rice, gelatin powder, the free-range eggs, and you saw there as well the ground beef. Now, here's another video that I had shot at the previous apartment I was living at. You see some beef liver, eggs, Greek yogurt, the beef, red potatoes, wild blueberries. You saw the white basmati rice, some pomegranate juice, and milk as well. Now, let's actually revisit that because you can see, yeah, I was buying pomegranate juice in plastic. That's not something that I would recommend. That was honestly not my brightest moment. Pomegranate juice is very acidic, and I recommend purchasing that in glass if at all possible. So now you've seen from 2015 to 2024, not a lot of changes, just some minor tweaks. The type of packaging that the pomegranate juice comes in, opting for free-range eggs instead of merely cage-free, getting grass-fed beef 90% instead of 73% run-of-the-mill beef. Again, that's all that I could afford at the time. I was doing the best with the resources that I had. Now I would like to show you just some blood work that I really hope just drives home the importance of how healthy this diet actually is, in contrast to maybe what you've been told before, maybe some of the limiting beliefs that you have about red meat, about saturated fat, about even carbohydrates now, which are getting demonized. What I like about Luke's philosophy is that it's a self-consistent picture. And if you have any questions about that, please ask us. Either email us or drop a comment down below, because I can remember 9 years ago encountering this information. Man, I was so excited. I was so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was just so ready to reinvent myself in any way imaginable. And I can remember having a lot of resistance and frankly asking more questions than you probably ever could. Like, I asked hundreds of questions to this man, Luke. I still ask him questions to this day out of curiosity, but there may be some really fundamental questions that you have that aren't addressed by the 10 tenets of the article that you're about to read. But if so, we're more than happy to expound upon those, because that's the difference between you veering left and veering right. And I want you to stay on the straight and narrow. I want you to actually find your freedom and actually optimize yourself, because you deserve that. And everyone else deserves to see the best of you. I really believe that. I actually want to show you a picture real quick. This was the best birthday gift that I've personally ever received. This was compliments of my mother on my 30th birthday. This was a nice tall glass of whole milk. You can see 2 fried eggs, a little bit of butter, some basmati rice, and 3 ground beef patties. And I can't help but wonder the person that I would have been at age 15, at age 20, 22, had I grown up with this nutrition. And I hope you see and are excited by what's possible when you become a father someday and you feed your son and or daughter high quality food, and you actually see how they develop, how they experience life. This is incredibly groundbreaking, and it makes me so happy just to pay forward this information to you. Real quick, this is just a picture, a still shot of a grocery run. You can see the butter, the ground beef, the eggs, the gelatin powder, Redmond real salt, pomegranate juice, full fat dairy, got some basmati rice, all incredibly nutritious. Now let's dive into this blood work that I had done. I'm actually going to put on my headphones for this. I believe I was having a dialogue with the phlebotomist here. So let's watch this together real quick, and then we'll dive into some of the blood work before we wrap.
So like we're trying to run the wrong software. We've got these smartphones with all of these dopaminergic distractions. I just think there's frankly a lot going on that probably ancestrally, I can pull that.
Yeah.
I think ancestrally we just probably weren't designed to handle all of that.
Sometimes I have these conversations with a phlebotomist. So you can see there, I was just having some routine blood work done, and I'd like to share with you right now on screen the results of that. So this was from the 2nd of April, 2024. The date is a little bit flip-flopped in Australia here, but the HbA1c, that's glycated hemoglobin, was 5.1%. I share this with you because part of our dietary philosophy is not neglecting carbohydrates. These aren't going to render you a diabetic. A 5.1 A1C is probably lower than most people that are keto or carnivore, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's because I'm just very insulin sensitive. And my fasting glucose, by the way, which I'll pull up right now, was 4.4 millimoles per liter. Now, if you convert that to milligrams per deciliter, it would be 79.2. 79. I've got a fasting glucose in the 70s, and I've got a fasting insulin of 5, And yet, in an isocaloric state, I'm consuming north of 300 grams of carbohydrates per day, about 140 grams of protein, and 80 grams of fat. And the reason being is because I'm prioritizing starch and not sugar. But what I'd also like to do is pull up a couple of lipid panels, and then I'm going to show you the mean averages of over 1,000 blood pressure readings, courtesy of a device called the Actia. So this was on, I believe, April 22nd, right here, 2023. And you can see my cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL, and LDL. Now, funny enough, I don't even glorify or pedestalize these results. A conventional cardiologist would find these to be very, very favorable. In fact, this might even constitute their wet dream. Look, I'm not judging. That being the case, what I find compelling about these results is my HDL to triglyceride ratio. Just having a higher HDL than triglyceride level, having a very low level of triglycerides, which was further corroborated in additional blood work that I had done later that year. So this was actually December 7th of 2023. And this is far more insightful information, not just the cholesterol, the LDL, HDL, cholesterol, the triglycerides, again, seeing my HDL far in excess of my triglyceride level, but also more importantly, oxidized LDL. And we'll be expounding upon the importance of that, and frankly, of PLAC. This is phospholipase A2, which is a serum blood test, which serves as a surrogate for the amount of activity of an enzyme called lipoprotein-associated phospholipase A2, which helps break down oxidized LDL in the vascular wall. In other words, your plaque level, not the actual amount of plaque, but this test will be directly proportional to how much ox-LDL you have. And you can see I have very low amounts of both of those. And this diet is the primary reason. This diet, my cooking methodology, these are the reasons why I have optimized blood work and why you can too. And also why, as you can see in this video here, my blood pressure is very dialed in as well. I'm going to skip ahead and show you the results of literally just hundreds of data points that have been generated by Actia, which I'll pull up on screen right now. This is a technology that is recognized and has gained regulatory approval of in over 40 different countries, predominantly in Europe. And I've worn this for a number of months, and you can see here 360 measurements from December 1st to the 31st, 194 measurements from January 1st to the 31st. You can see 559 measurements and then 491 measurements with an average systolic and diastolic around 112/69. Again, I want to just show you, not just tell you, what is possible with your personal health. I don't want to just give you promises. I want to give you the proof and just lay this all out on the line for you. And I hope that's what I've done here. I hope you're on board with this. I hope you veer right with me. I hope you're on board with Alpha Actualization. Subscribe to the newsletter. We're going to be releasing banger articles every Friday night at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you very much, my friend. Drop a comment down below. If you have any question, any of the hundreds of questions that I certainly had when I was introduced to this nutritional ideology, which I've never seen anywhere else online, please, there is no dumb question. Ask the question, because I guarantee it's a thought that either I or somebody else has had at some point in time. And if that's the difference between you veering left or right, I want to take the time out of my day to make sure that it gets addressed. I love you very much. And as always, my friends, until next time, find your freedom. Peace.